Hari Om. Greetings. Today we're going to be talking about grace and the role that acceptance, surrender, loving service, and gratitude have in grace. First, let's define grace. Grace is receiving of a gift that benefits us, that we can't possibly merit. In other words, no amount of our own effort can bring us such a gift. And we find grace in yoga, in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. There's a sutra that says at a certain point in our development, we feel drawn by the Absolute, as if the Absolute were a magnet and we're iron. And when we purify ourselves enough, we feel that pull of grace. No more effort on our part. In the Upanishads, it says that no amount of learning or listening can ever bring full enlightenment. Enlightenment comes when you're chosen by the Absolute. This is another way of talking about grace. Another way of saying that our own minds can only go so far. So let's look at the four different elements, first starting with acceptance. Acceptance literally means to take something onto oneself, to embrace or to incorporate into oneself. And how it manifests practically is we don't resist the events and unexpected twists and turns of life. We acknowledge and affirm instead that what is happening is happening. What has happened has happened. It's a non-judgmental acceptance of what is. And for yogis, in particular, we look at several other aspects of acceptance. We accept our swadharma, our purpose in life. Each of us has a particular reason for being born. It's the call of the divine that's been directed at you. And as we live our lives and we see what comes naturally to us and we see what brings meaning and fulfillment to us, and is always connected with serving others, helping others. What is our calling? Our divine calling, that's Swadharma. And it may not be what you expect. It may be something quite different. We have to be ready for that too. Life is like a conversation between us and God. Our desires and our thoughts, words, and deeds are a part of the conversation. And what we get back, what we hear back, what we experience is God's response to us. So if we listen carefully, we might find we're being led in a way that we would never have experienced. And we learn to accept that. And with grace, we have to accept that we won't always understand what the gifts will be or how they'll be brought to us. It's not something we can predict. It's not a predictable thing. Grace is just like the wind blowing. We don't know where it's coming from. We don't know where it's going. We also accept that grace often comes in very subtle, even seemingly small ways. And the fruits of grace are not always immediately obvious. We need patience. We need mindfulness to really unravel it. We also need to accept that receiving grace often includes suffering that will help to purify, protect, and test us. And we need to resist the temptation to run from suffering. And instead, within the space created by our patience, inner reflection, knowledge, and faith, meet suffering head on to reap its lessons. And then we can seek creative ways to rise above suffering, to reduce the cause or causes of suffering, and to avoid repeating our mistakes again. Then we move on to surrender. The transformative and liberating power of grace is experienced in its fullness through complete surrender to the higher will. We cultivate surrender by letting go of I, me, and mine, replacing I, me, and mine with thine. Anything we call mine is just like a mind ready to explode. But we can diffuse those minds by making it thine. Thy will be done. We recognize and surrender that it's the feeling of ownership that we have over things, and the drive we have to control things are what cause anxiety, fear, and sadness. Little by little, we learn to let thy will be done. To let go of our grip on the burdens, responsibilities, expectations, and cares that crowd out our happiness. In surrender, you don't lose yourself. Instead, you find yourself reborn into an unfettered freedom, an infinitely greater reality. So if you look at acceptance and surrender, it's two sides of one coin. First, we come to ourselves and accept ourselves as we are, that we are worthy of happiness and that our life has meaning and purpose. Then we let go of the burdens we've been carrying. We let go and offer it to the higher will. Moving on to loving service. Love is grace in action. Love is never idle. It always seeks harmony and the welfare of others. Through love, we become open channels for grace. And we ourselves are elevated by the grace that passes through us as love. Unconditional love knits together all the paradoxical aspects of life and allows us to experience the utter freedom of spirit here and now. It knits together all the paradoxical aspects of life and allows us to experience the utter freedom of spirit here and now. We need to expand our love to anything we see that's not perfect in our eyes. Doesn't mean we have to enjoy it and like it, but we need to be committed to it. Committed means to use our love to help bring betterment and merit to others. No one should be exempt from your love. Serve all creation with loving kindness and without expectation of personal reward. Finally, we come to gratitude. It is the nature of grace that we're in a constant state of being given to, being recipients of grace. That being true, the only reasonable response to being so generously gifted is to cultivate a constant state of gratitude. To see in our life the people, the opportunities, the love, the times of joy, support, guidance, correction, lessons learned, moments of peace and contentment, the glories of nature, to see all of that inspires gratitude. Gratitude leads to devotion. Devotion leads to faith. Faith opens us to grace. The entire universe is our home. When we recognize that we are recipients of such a gift, it's only natural to be struck with wonder. There's a beautiful tradition in Judaism that says when we die and arrive at the gates of heaven, God will not ask us to account for our sins and shortcomings, but why we didn't take advantage of the gifts that we've been given. It's something for us to reflect on, to keep in mind. And to summarize, to benefit from grace, the grace that's being poured into us always, we only need to be open to it, to accept it on its own terms, and then to share the blessings that the grace gave us with others. With that, I'll end by just saying, be well, love one another. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om, peace, peace, peace. May the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light.